Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. Today I am wearing glasses to appear to be smarter than I am, and also to introduce a film that I very much hope you will take time to see. And I think that when you do, you will be glad that you did because it's important. And you hear that word a lot when it comes to movies, and most of the time it's not true. But in this case, it is very true. It's a story that is heartbreaking, it's upsetting, it is maddening, but also inspirational and funny, and something that I hope will make you think about the way healthcare works in this country and how it affects families, in particular, the Barkan family and Ady, who you will learn quite a bit about. I do want to introduce our panel. First of all, Ady, it's a pleasure to meet you. It's an honor to meet you. I know you've been doing just incredible, unbelievable work under very difficult circumstances. Ady is an activist. You may have read about him. You may have seen videos. He's been arrested. He's confronted senators on planes. He is doing everything he can to help not just his situation, but the situations for so many millions of people here in this country. The movie is called Not Going Quietly. It is a documentary. I want to introduce the filmmakers, director Nicholas Bruckman, and producer Amanda Roddy. Thank you for doing this. This is a movie that tracks Ady's life and work after he's diagnosed with ALS at age 32. It follows him as he um, challenges politicians, as he raises awareness, as he raises money for necessary reasons. I also would like to introduce a couple of guys that probably don't need introduction. That's Bradley Whitford and Mark Duplass. Of course, you know them, actors, directors, West Wing, Handmaid's Tale. What are you on now? The Morning Show. Mark Duplass is on, and these guys have donated their energy and time to supporting this project, and we'll get to all of you. But first, I want to ask Ady a question, and that question, Ady, is why did you let these people do this? Why did you welcome them into your life?
You know, Jimmy, I had been living this perfect life. I had a brilliant wife, a beautiful newborn son, and a great career fighting for racial and economic justice. We lived in beautiful Santa Barbara, California, and could see decades of happiness stretching out in front of us. And then, out of the clear blue sky, we were struck by the lightning bolt of ALS. So, ultimately, I had to decide how I wanted to spend my final years. I had to decide what really matters most to me. And I thought long and hard about it. I talked to Rachel. And, in the end, I just reached the conclusion that what is most important, above all else, is being famous and making a lot of money. But these two young people, Nick and Amanda, they asked if they could make a film about me. They said that I could be like a reality TV show star. And I said yes. Because, you know, Jimmy, I am really not here to make friends. I am here to win. And that is really what it's all about for me. Endorsement deals. Here I come, baby. I wear Crocs on my feet and Fruit of the Loom, you know where. And if either of those wonderful companies is interested in an authentic spokesperson, I'm available.
Yeah, we got to get you in with the grapes and the various fruits of the loom. I don't, do they still do that? So, Nick and Amanda, you were with the family, with the Barkans, with Ady, and in his home became part of his life. I assume. What was that experience like for you?
Making this film, I think, in a lot of ways was really emotionally difficult. As hilarious as Ady is, I'm really grateful that we had Mark, Bradley, Jay, our other executive producers as emotional support throughout this process to make this film because I spent hundreds of hours with Ady over 3 years, as did Amanda, and he became one of my best friends. And I think like anybody seeing a friend go through this and going through what ALS, does to the body is really hard. And so, that part was taxing, but what, was so amazing and I think so wonderful about making the film was, obviously the cliche is how inspirational he is, but for me, that was not so much his activism or his, kind of change making. It was him as a dad. I spent, I think, maybe hundreds of hours filming him and Carl together and seeing how he evolved and how he took care of his son and how their relationship blossomed despite this technology that he speaks with. And I think on a personal level, in terms of how Ady changed my life, I had a tough time with my dad growing up, and I, wasn't really sure if I wanted to be a dad. And Jimmy, I know you're an amazing father, and the stories that you've gone through with your son. And and yeah, my son was born last month. And, when I think about what kind of dad I want to be, when I think about, the time that I spend, I really think about Ady and how he is with his son and how he's adapted and what he's been able to do. And so that to me was really transformative personally. And I think I want people to take that away from the film. It's really a film about family.
Amanda, how did you meet Ady?
We met Ady. Initially, we were hired by his crew, the Be a Hero team, to make a couple of political ads with him. But I think when Nick and I were working on those ads, we kind of quickly knew that he was a really special person with a really remarkable story. And so shortly thereafter, we asked him if he would want to be the incredible reality star that he's about to become, and he agreed. And so that's how we met. And yeah, we got really lucky, because I think when we first started filming with him, as I said, he's a really remarkable person, but we didn't really anticipate everything that he and his team would accomplish. We really got a front row seat to the making of a political movement, and that was incredibly unique, and I think is something we're really excited to share with other people. And I think it's something that, was really inspiring to me, because they were able to affect a lot of change in a very short period of time. Like, they had an impact on the midterm elections. The 2020 presidential candidates sat down and talked with Ady because he had become such a force in terms of healthcare. And so seeing that made me really hopeful in a time where I think, there wasn't a lot of hope for anyone. It was a really tough time the past few years. And yeah, I'm incredibly grateful that they opened up their lives and stories to us.
Mark and Bradley, how did you become a part of this? And tell us about that.
It was a crazy night at Burning Man. No, I don't know how. I think Ady called me. I remember the first time I met him. It was at Senator Feinstein's office, and Ady was extremely charismatic and very funny. There were a bunch of, I believe, Nazis there. Weren't they Nazis? Like, they were kind of Nazis who were looked to be interested in some sort of physical altercation. And Ady said, put me in front in the wheelchair and make him, make him hit the guy with ALS. And I was just struck by Ady, and I looked into the work that he had done, and then I saw, what happened in the midterms. We took back the House based on the electorate's reassessment of healthcare, which had been a very difficult issue for Democrats. And we really, Ady was very much a part of the movement that I think, took back the House and put healthcare where it should be, center stage. Then I heard that there was a film crew that had been following him. Then I saw the footage. I talked to Nicholas and Amanda, and Ady is just a voice that I want to do everything I can to raise. And then I think I called Mark and Jay, because in the very lucrative world of political documentaries, they know how to navigate that world, and that's how I ended up.
So, Mark, you and Jay did this for the money, then?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Return on investment. You know, we pulled everything out of Tesla, put it right into this documentary, and we're super excited about where it's headed. Yeah, I mean, listen, Bradley called us, and you know, he's kind of like a cousin to us. And I come at this as more of a layman. I don't really understand all the details. They're so super educated about healthcare. I'm one of these guys that reads a couple of articles in the headlines, and I know that healthcare is messed up, but I don't really understand what it is. And so I think that part of me, you know, thought, okay, great, I can use whatever platform we have as documentary filmmakers, and frankly, let's put some cash into this thing and get it going. But I think that selfishly for me, I wanted to be close to this, and I wanted to be able to learn about this and take that step beyond just that sort of dinner table proselytizing that I always do. Where I'm like, healthcare is all messed up, and everybody's like, how? And I'm like, I don't think I really know. And this was really good for me on that front. And then, you know, what a wonderful surprise that, you know, when we sort of really dug into the footage, what a great film it is. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say beyond all of this how, yes, it's important that we're supporting Ady's message. And yes, this is a documentary that is going to be aimed at making change, and it has already made some change, but the movie is great. And it's an incredible human spirit story that just, I mean, I get choked up when I talk about it. It's so moving.
It is. Let's take a look at a clip from Not Going Quietly.
Blow as hard as you can. Blow, 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 blow. Keep going. Go, 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 go. It was 44%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge decline.
Is it?
Yeah, I was at 70. My whole body is going paralyzed, but losing my voice is far more consequential for me than losing my ability to walk. I've got a lot to say and not a lot of time left to say it in.
What is Abba doing?
Hey, Carl.
Medicine.
Yeah, medicine.
Whoa.
I'm not sure how many more months I have where I can speak well enough that I can be understood, but I plan to spend every one of those months doing everything I can. As my life is coming to the end, I want to make my son proud. Rachel knows that this may be one of the last times I can bird dog a senator or speak at a rally. She's sacrificing so that we can do this. I admire her and appreciate her so much.
So, Ady, the big message is that millions of people have to make heartbreaking decisions as to whether to keep their loved ones alive or whether to go bankrupt, which is insane that happens in this country to people, to a person who has health insurance, who has good health insurance. Um, the gaps that are there are oftentimes insurmountable. So, I guess my question is, what changes specifically do you see as necessary to fix our broken healthcare system?
We live in the richest country in history. We can afford to guarantee that everyone gets the health care they need. The simplest, cheapest, most equitable way to do that is just to enroll everyone in Medicare. We can get rid of all the waste and the bureaucracy, and just let the doctors and nurses focus on taking care of their patients, and let the patients spend our time getting healthier, getting good medical care, and being with our loved ones doing the things that bring us joy. Our time on this earth is the most precious resource we have, and we shouldn't waste it on the phone trying to navigate health insurance bureaucracy. We should spend it playing with our children and grandchildren, taking walks in the beautiful American outdoors, or, even better, we should spend our precious time watching handsome comics make stupid jokes on late-night television. That is what Medicare for All will make possible, and I know you agree that that is a future worth fighting for.
Absolutely. It's a no-brainer. It really is. It shouldn't be complicated. It is complicated, but it really shouldn't be. You spent a couple of months in an RV traveling across the country while you were losing your voice, speaking to politicians, confronting politicians. Do you think that made an impact?
That was an amazing road trip across the country. It was the summer of 2018, and we traveled from California to Maine, stopping in 30 congressional districts to help mobilize the country to fight back against Donald Trump and the Republicans to take back control of the House of Representatives. So here's what I know about the impact of that road trip. First, I know I made some lifelong friends, and we had a blast from dusty towns in northern Nevada to the glistening cornfields of Iowa and the bustling streets of Brooklyn. Second, I know that that trip was raw material for a great buddy road trip flick, featuring stone s'mores, hot shower scenes, and some never-before-seen footage of Bernie Sanders and yours truly. And, third, I know that we were part of a wave of millions of Americans who volunteered their energy and passion to accomplish together something amazing, which was the preservation of our democracy. I am so glad we went on that adventure. What a great trip it was.
You have a great team behind you, obviously. Can you tell us a little about your campaign and the people behind it?
Thanks for asking that, Jimmy. This movie is about me and my family, but it is also about the progressive movement that I am a part of. The reality is that the world doesn't get better unless thousands of people fight together to build our collective power and overcome the obstacles that stand in front of us. We've seen the progressive movement flourish and grow during the Trump presidency, and much of the documentary takes place during that era, when so many of us came together to protect our health care, protect our family members, protect our democracy. This film is a testament to that movement. Some of my comrades are featured in the movie, which makes me so happy. One is Liz Jaff, who I met in the most lucky and serendipitous moment of my life, standing in line to board an airplane. The film tells that story, and shows the beautiful and wild partnership that emerged from that magical moment. We have been fighting together ever since, and it has been a wonderful friendship. The film also features some of the other people who have supported me, and joined me in these struggles. In the film, you see the fierce work of Anna Maria Archila, a leader in the movements for immigrants' rights and women's rights. And, you see the labor of love poured in by my best friend Nate Smith, who I met in freshman algebra, and who literally moved my body back and forth across the country so that I could make my voice heard. You also get a glimpse in the documentary of the incredible caregivers who I now have, Mario Diaz and Izzy Barrios, and others, who tend to my body 24 hours a day, so I can keep living, keep struggling for justice, keep watching my beautiful outrageous kids grow up. One of the issues that Liz and I and the Be a Hero team are working on now is long-term care. We believe that everyone in America should have the right to long-term health care if they need it. Everyone should be able to stay in their home, with the people they love, rather than having to go live in a nursing home. So, we're urging President Biden and the Democrats in Congress to make that a guaranteed right in America. When I talked to him last year, Joe Biden promised me that he would do that, and so I am working to hold him to his word this year.
Amanda and Nick, what are your hopes for the film? What is the best case scenario?
I think my greatest wish is that when people watch this film, they feel inspired and energized to become engaged in politics and our democracy, to kind of be reminded of the fact that our democracy is not a spectator sport. It's something that we absolutely must participate in every day and fight for if we want a better future. And I also really hope that people watch this film and see Ady's story and are reminded of the fact that real heroes do exist. Like, he's such a remarkable person, and to have been able to witness that in person and then be able to tell that story gave me so much hope. And I hope that other people see him and his colleagues and his comrades. And I hope that they believe that there are other people who are fighting there for them. I think it's really hard in the media sometimes because there are so many bad guys all over the place, and it's easy to fall into despair. But I really do think, as Ady says, like, hope is the antidote to despair, and watching these people fight for all of our rights is incredibly moving. I hope people are moved by that.
Only thing I would add to that is that for me, what attracted me so much to getting on the road with Ady and jumping on this was, before Ady went viral in that confrontation with Jeff Flake, he hadn't really talked to a lot of people about his ALS diagnosis. Close friends and family knew, but after his face was all over the media, people called him up who are, more distant, said, "Oh my God, I didn't know." And I think when he agreed to do this film, I think part of it was that realization from that viral encounter that stories have power, that telling your story, opening up, that can make a difference. And I think that's what the movement becomes, right? Ady goes on the road, meeting people, sick people all over the country, who he takes to confront politicians, to tell their stories, armed with iPhones, to film that, bird dog them, put them on the internet, shame them with their stories, create change with their stories. And that's like what we do as documentary filmmakers in general, storytellers in general. So the whole movie is like an ode to storytelling. It's an ode to opening up, sharing, and transforming your story into a tool for change. And I want other filmmakers and all kinds of folks to be inspired by that.
I want to touch on something Amanda said, and I want to direct this question to Ady because a lot of people are exhausted from the past 4 or 5 years. How do you encourage them to stay involved and be engaged in politics?
That's true, Jimmy, that's true. Fighting back against fascism is exhausting, especially for the people who were targeted directly by the ferocious racism, hate, and greed of Trump and his henchmen. But, here's the thing. Our activism muscles are just like our biceps and glutes and all our other muscles. The more we work them, the stronger they become, and the more fun we can have when we use them. And, Jimbo, look what happens when a whole team of people work out together for 4 years. We have pumped that iron and run those treadmills on high speed, but on the field, we've been playing defense every fucking game, all game long. We've just been trying to prevent these terrible people from burning everything down. So, what's my message to people who are tired? It's simple. We finally have the ball. It's finally our turn to accomplish something. Now is the moment to use all the strength that we've built, all the camaraderie we've created. Now is our chance to actually score some points. We can expand voting rights and save our democracy. We can empower workers who want to form a union at their job. We can pass common sense gun control. A Green New Deal to save our planet. Immigration reform so everyone can live with dignity in this country. And we can of course guarantee health care to everyone. We can do all these things in the next 2 years. But only if we push really hard together. We need everyone to put their back into it, flex those muscles, because our opposition is so strong and our margins in Congress are so tiny. We have to deliver transformational change for the American people right now. Otherwise the Trump fascists will come back in 2 years, and we will lose our ability to govern. We have to carpe the diem, right now. This is our only chance. Today will never come back again.
I like carpe the diem a lot. I like throwing the in the middle. That's nicely done. Humor is important to this project, to this movie. I think it. I don't want to say humanizes because we're looking at human beings. We're looking at a family, but it's there's definitely a likability that you have, Ady, that makes us root for you. Not that we shouldn't be rooting for anyone who's in this situation. All these things you talk about, I have to say, for me personally, they just feel like common sense. They just, yes, of course, we should have background checks for gun control and health care for anyone who needs it. I mean, we should all put a little bit of money into a pot to make sure that people whose families can be devastated have access to it. I mean, these things are, first of all, they're very Christian values, um, which is interesting that that seems to be a divide between us. But Mark and Bradley, I know you're celebrities and you're used to being the center of attention. So I want to go back to you for a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
um, how do you feel about that? I mean, you both do a lot of work. Do you ever feel like you're yelling into a wind tunnel, or do you see progress?
That's part of the reason I wanted to tell this story. Ady embodies a couple, yes, hope, action is the antidote to despair. By the way, if I had ALS, I'm sure you just want to deck anybody who calls you inspiring. This isn't about him being inspiring, which he is, but it's about him being effective and showing under extraordinary circumstances that we don't just get a democracy, we have to make it every day. There will not be a win when greed and fascism goes away. It will never go away. We have to fight for these decisions. And I think there's been a frustration from me, from my own progressive community, which tends to only engage at certain moments. We witness, the murder of George Floyd, and we go to the diagnosis, we go to the march, which is absolutely necessary, but we don't follow through on the slog of the treatment. And that puts us at a disadvantage, because part of the reason we have minority rule on every issue we care about, it's like 60-40 for everything we care about, is because the right is incentivized because they're pursuing a business agenda. They are, it's not an extracurricular for them. They're in there every day. And Ady, to me, under these extraordinary circumstances, shows, it's why I don't see what him, he's just been so effective. He really changed the discussion on this, using the tools that he had. So I just want people to know it will never end. We have to fight. Greed will not go away, and that's what we're up against.
I love when you use that expression, using the tools that you have. I've always embraced that in my creative work, and I came making up $3 movies in my kitchen with my brother, and I get very intimidated, to your point, Jimmy, of like, how can I actually make a dent in any of these issues, partially because they seem so insurmountable, partially because it seems like, do I even understand these issues enough? How could I even posit to be helpful? And I try to quiet that voice and try to go into the side of myself that says, well, what are the tools in my hand that could be helpful? And you, Jimmy, and time is a huge commodity for you. You're taking an hour to do this for us. And so I'm just trying to march forward with those principles and just say, what's the sword in my hand? Swing it.
But what you have done, and I do want to say again, just to get back to the documentary itself, is you made a film that doesn't feel like homework, that is every bit as moving as an Oscar nominated film that is scripted and starring actors, and you got a pretty great star. Um, Ady, your son and daughter obviously are huge motivators for you, um, in the movie and in your life. What are your hopes for them?
That's the real reason to watch this documentary. My babies are ridiculously cute, and the filmmakers captured some pretty miraculous moments. You ask, what do I hope for them? I think I am like most dads. I want my kids to be happy. Carl is an epic goofball and a performer. He's a negotiator and a debater, just like me. He's got an opinion on everything, and he loves to make people laugh. So, I want him to spend his life doing things that bring him joy, and maybe that bring other people joy as well. And Willow, she is one now. She is in that hilarious age when she's both a baby and a toddler at the same time. So she is still curious about everything, still devouring any food we put on her plate. But she is also starting to shake her head vigorously when she does not like what is being proposed, and she is starting to experiment with stomping her feet and screeching like a demon at the slightest offense to her dignity. The best part is her love of music. She starts dancing the moment I press play on Aretha Franklin or Queen. And she can't say any words yet, but she hums Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for hours, literally hours, every day. So, I really hope that Willow can hold on to that love of music for the rest of her life, can hold on to that rhythm, and can shake it every time she hits the dance floor. But, most of all, Jimmy, what I want is for my kids to feel loved. I want them to know that they are valued and respected and admired. You asked earlier why I let these folks make a film about me, and I made a wise crack. But here's the real answer. I did it because I want my kids to know who I am, even if I am not around anymore. I want them to know that I love them, and I cherish the life they will live, and the world they will create for themselves.
Do you sorry, do you feel optimistic that do you feel optimistic that real change will come, Adi?
The future is as unpredictable as ever. You and Molly learned that as well as anyone when Billy was born. And America has been reminded of that vividly in recent years, with the election of Donald Trump, with the coronavirus pandemic, with everything. So, no, I am not optimistic about the future. I don't have a prediction about how it will go. But I am hopeful about the future. And here's the difference between optimism and hope. Optimism is an opinion, hope is a spur to action. Hope is not a lottery ticket that we cling to, it's a hammer that we use in an emergency to break the glass, sound the alarm, and spring into action. Hope is not a state of mind, it's a state of action. And so, yes, Jimmy, I am filled with hope that the American people can rise to the challenge. Our future remains totally unwritten. But we are the authors of that collective future. We hold the pen. It is our story for the writing, and I know it can be a miraculous tale. And, Jimmy, let me just end by saying that I am so grateful that you have spent some of your precious time learning about my story and helping me share it with the world.
Well, it honestly my pleasure and honor, and I think since Amanda, since you have a guitar there, maybe you could end with a song.
I have nightmares about that happening.
I think the message here is watch the movie. You'll be glad you did. It's called Not Going Quietly. Um, it's an important film for real, no kidding around. And congratulations to all of you on making this. I think it's going to do a lot more to inform us and to illuminate us as far as what so many people are going through and what we can do to change things for the better. Because as Mark said, it's hard to wrap your head around, but this film makes it easy. You guys did a beautiful job, and thanks for sitting and talking. I appreciate it. And Adi, I wish you the best.
Thank you so much.